From the moment you're born, you're taught that money is scarce, that you must work hard to get it, and that school is where you learn how to succeed. But what if all of that is backwards? What if money is infinite, poverty is a tool, and school is actually designed to make you obedient? This is the secret history of power. To understand how power works, we have to start with the philosopher Immanuel Kant. Kant realized something revolutionary. We can never know objective reality. There's a real world out there. He called it the noumena, but our senses filter it. Our brains add things like time and space. What we experience, the phenomena, is a construction. In other words, reality is what you imagine it to be. This isn't philosophy, it's neuroscience. Your brain literally builds the world you experience. And that means the people in power can shape what you believe is real. If you can control what people imagine, you can control everything. This is a thought experiment. You open a bank, people deposit $5 million. You lend out $4.5 million. How much money is in the bank? In economics class, you are taught the answer is $500,000. But that is not what happens in real life. In reality, the bank now has $9.5 million. How? Because the loan created new money. The bank did not give away the deposits, it created money out of nothing. This is not new. In medieval times, merchants discovered they could lend the same gold twice. Once as the physical gold, once as a receipt. The system was so useful, it spread. Today, banks do this with the click of a button. Money is not scarce. It is infinite. It is just numbers. So if money is infinite, why are there poor people? Why do people starve when there is enough food? Why can't the government just print money and give it to everyone? The answer: poverty exists because the powerful need it to. Without poverty, your parents could not scare you into working hard. Study hard, or you will end up like that person. The fear of poverty makes you work. And when you work, you generate real wealth for them. If too much money piles up, people might stop working. So periodically, the system wipes out wealth. Stock market crashes, recessions, wars. You're told it's bad luck, but it's by design. War isn't about resources. It's about destroying wealth so you have to rebuild. Work harder and stay scared. The cycle begins again. The debt is reset, but the labor remains. Every generation thinks they are the lucky ones until the hand moves again. They don't want you to win. They just want you to keep playing. And the game never truly ends. It only restarts. For most of human history, happiness was collective. If you got rich, you threw a feast for the whole village. Your reputation mattered more than your bank account. This is what made you happy. Today, we are told happiness is individual. Money, power, freedom, love. But each one leaves us empty. Why? Because the individual is a new invention. For most of history, no one saw themselves as separate from family and community. We have swapped connection for collection. And we are more miserable for it. Here's where it gets interesting. There are two ways to understand the world. The first is polytheism, the idea that powerful gods control everything. In this worldview, you have no agency. You're at their mercy. But you can still flourish by living excellently today. This is called Eudaimonia. The second worldview is modern science. You're just synapses in memories. You can control your fate through therapy, self-improvement, and hard work. It sounds empowering, but here's the trap. In the second worldview, all your problems are inside you. You're depressed? Fix yourself. You're anxious? It's your fault. This isolates you. You can't act collectively because there's nothing outside you to fight. You become dependent on experts, psychiatrists, scientists, gurus. The first worldview says, forces beyond you are at play. You can't control everything. So live fully today and act with others. The second says, you're in complete control. But that's a lie, and it leaves you powerless, alone, and compliant. Which world would you rather inhabit? One where you fight with others against the gods? Or one where you fight yourself in the dark, forever tethered to the experts? The choice seems obvious when you see the trap for what it really is. We were meant to live excellently today, not to be fixed tomorrow. Turn away from the screens. Look to those beside you. That is where flourish begins. The world is bigger than your synapses. Live accordingly. The ancients pursued eudaimonia, flourishing. Being the best version of yourself, creating, growing, contributing. We pursue pleasure, avoiding pain, consuming entertainment, numbing ourselves with screens. One leads to purpose. The other leads to emptiness. And the powerful prefer you empty. Full people ask questions. Empty people buy products. Choose which life you want to build. The choice is yours. Now let's talk about school. Why do we have it? Three societies first introduced compulsory schooling. Sparta, the Aztecs, and Prussia. What did they have in common? They were war machines. School wasn't invented to educate. It was invented to create soldiers. But there's another reason. School takes children away from parents. A 4-year-old taken from their mother is anxious, afraid, vulnerable. In that state, they'll believe anything the teacher says. You're taught a language, a history, a geography, all designed to implant one concept, the nation state. The idea that you belong to a massive, abstract country, a motherland filled with people you've never met and have nothing in common with. Before schools, you were from your village. You knew your neighbors. Now you're told you're the same as someone from a province you've never visited. Why? Because nations need soldiers. And soldiers need to believe they're fighting for family. Monotheism, the idea of one true God, gave us three concepts that structure our world: money, the individual, and the nation state. Money is infinite, but you're taught it's scarce. The individual is a new invention, but you're taught it's natural. The nation state is a fiction, but you're taught to die for it. None of these things exist in nature. Try to find a dollar bill in the forest. Try to find a border from space. Try to find an individual in a village where everyone depends on everyone else. They're inventions, and they were invented to serve power. Alchemy was the ancient quest to turn lead into gold. But we've achieved something greater. We've learned to turn nothing into everything. A promise becomes money. A story becomes a nation. A feeling becomes an individual. Here's the thing. This wasn't a grand plan. It was an accident of human imagination. And if imagination created this system, imagination can create a better one. So what do you do with this knowledge? You don't need to tear anything down. You don't need to join a movement. You just need to see. When you understand that money is a story, you stop chasing it as if it's real. When you understand the individual is an invention, you start reaching out to others. When you understand the nation state is a fiction, you start caring about people, not borders. The secret history of power is that the powerful are terrified of one thing: people who see clearly. People who know that reality is what we imagine it to be. Because if you know that, you can imagine something better. And when enough people imagine the same thing, it stops being imagination. It becomes real. Reality is what you imagine it to be. So what are you going to imagine?